Hello and welcome everybody here at Enforce Tac TV. Today I have someone very special with me. Marc, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Marc, before we start talking about your company, it's a very small company that no one knows. Of course, I'm just kidding. But first of all, how is it to be back at a fair?
Oh, it's really great because all these years without the fairs and without the audience, you can do a lot of things online or in a virtual reality world or whatever,
Exactly.
but nothing replaces a real show like this. So it's great to be here again and see all of you again.
I second this. So please, let's talk about UMAREX as a company. For those viewers who don't know, what does your company actually specializes in?
I mean, we are around for 50 years now, so we have our 50th anniversary this year. And we are one of the world leading manufacturers of leisure sport guns, for air guns, for blank firing pistols, for example. And we're also pretty much into our T4E business, which is something a little bit more special maybe. So we might have a little explanation about that if you want.
So setting the tone with UMAREX being one of the major companies, and many people worldwide already know and love your products. But today here at Enforce Tac, we are going to set the tone for a very special purpose. We are talking about dry firing, we're talking about scenario training, we are talking about force-on-force training, and you have the T4E series. Please, would you mind giving us a rundown? What is so special about the T4E series?
So the T4E series is something which gives you the possibility to do a force-on-force training, to do several training scenarios under various conditions, and one of the big advantages is that you don't need a real officially licensed shooting range, because this is a CO2-driven system which fires a few different kinds of bullets. So one thing we can use for the training are the chalk balls. This is caliber 43, and there are not only chalk balls around, there are also several kinds of paintballs, and there are also rubber balls available for precision training and things like that. So these chalk balls, for example, give you the possibility to use them in force-on-force training in two different colors, so you can differ between foe and friend hits. And one of the big advantages of the chalk balls compared to the classical paintballs are you get a distinct mark when you get a hit,
Exactly.
but you can remove it pretty easily after one training scenario just by brushing it off. So you can go back to neutral much easier than with a classical paintball, which gives you the liquid color, which gives a bigger, a more distinct mark, of course, but you can't remove it just like that. And that's a big advantage of the chalk balls for several training rounds, one after the other.
Exactly. For example, if you no matter in what kind of authorities you work in, because you have special gear, you have special kit, after a training round or force-on-force training, you'd actually have in the traditional way, you'd have to clean everything off. Now you can just brush it off. Also, bigger caliber, in my opinion, please correct me if I'm wrong, it leaves the bigger mark. It's easier to identify, have I been hit, and I can even have, I can feel when I got hit.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And talking about the ammunition, of course, you feel the hits, this is true, but you don't need a full body protection, a full body armor or something like that. The only thing you need is a face mask, and the rest you can just wear your normal duty uniform, whatever. So it's not necessary to make a special setup for the training, and this is a great advantage, because if you're as every day as possible in the training with your familiar clothing, with your familiar gear and equipment, with your familiar holster for the gun, for example, this is something which gives you big advantage, because it keeps you very close to the reality, very close to these things you're already familiar with. And this is a very important point. And this is the moment to talk about the training device. This gun, for example, this is a Walther PPQ M2. And all the dimensions are exactly like the original. So this is one thing which I said, you can use every PPQ holster, for example, or the polymer pedal holsters, which are issued by several law enforcement agencies.
Very important, because I want to train with the gear that I actually wear on me on duty.
Absolutely. So you have a magazine change, just like with the original one. The CO2 capsule sits right here in the magazine, and you have a capacity of 8 rounds in here. So if you make a magazine change, you can just make it like with a real gun. You can rack and ride it, and it's just like the real thing. So
Even has a good recall.
Oh yeah, of course it has. It's a blowback function, so it's like with several different CO2 air guns you're maybe familiar with, or airsoft guns. You know the blowback function is something pretty distinct to make the feeling even more realistic than just with any other gun.
So true. So true. Yeah. So when we talk about your company taking on the field of force-on-force training, so with everything that you do with the T4E, with the T4E series, which handles just like the real deal, which has the same dimensions as the real deal, so I can use all my gear, which offers many different ammunition types, for example, as you mentioned, just like powder, color, whatsoever, rubber, all right? One thing we talked about earlier before we started this video is different sets of authorities have different requirements to their duty gun, and often their duty gun is, I don't want to say a custom version, but a very specialized version made especially for them. So what is it that your company offers for those people who say, all right, it's a PPQ, we have the same dimension, but our PPQ, for example, has, double action only, decocker, no decocker. There are specialized fields of guns that these authorities need. What do you have in stock for these people?
Of course, we have the possibility to change systems like this, just you mentioned. We can use various different sights, for example, but before I come to that, I want to say, of course, it's not only the PPQ we offer, there are also rifles in caliber 43.
Exactly.
So it's also possible to do a long-range training. I mean, not a long-range meaning of a sniper or whatever, but using a rifle in a training scenario, of course, enhances the reality and or the real feeling of it.
Even system transitions,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I might have another example for the modifications we are capable of doing that. This is another PPQ, or P99Q, we call it NL, because this is a project we made for the Netherlands police. And this is not a T4E training gun, this is a 6MT training gun. So this is something which is basically an airsoft ammunition handgun or training device, to say it like that. But what makes this P99Q a little bit special is all the efforts we put in it to fulfill the very, very specific requirements of the Netherlands police, because they were not just asking for an airsoft gun to do their training. You can do training with the T4E system, or you can do it with the 6MT training system. Both of them have their advantages or disadvantages, but they decided to go for a 6mm system, and it's the same like this with a CO2-driven energy system. And here with this gun, we got a lot of special requirements, as I already mentioned. So let's start, for example, with a CNC milled aluminum slide. So this is not just a zinc alloy slide, which is made in huge quantities. This is CNC milled, and this gives us the possibility to adopt the original Walter P99 sights with a Superluminova.
Okay.
So this was one of the requirements that they said they want definitely their original handgun sights on this training device to give you exactly the same aiming picture and all that, like they know it from their live gun, of course. And another thing is, if you check the magazine, for example, this magazine has a pretty thick magazine bottom, which means it's very drop resistance. We had to increase the drop resistance for them. And we have a reduction of the magazine capacity, because basically the 6mm caliber would allow a larger magazine capacity than the original gun, but they wanted us to restrict the capacity of the magazine to 15 rounds just to meet the magazine capacity of the live gun, for example. Another thing which is pretty special, you have the weapon number right here at the end. And there is an RFID chip included in this gun, so in this training device, so you are able to scan the serial number of the gun all the time. So this was one of the other requirements they said, because they want to be able to control it, to scan all them electronically and not just read the number and that. So these are quite specific features for a 6mm gun, and this shows pretty much how much, or in what grade we are capable of adopting these requests in our product development and develop a training device which does not meet the requirements of them just like that. No, we try to meet it by 100%. Another thing which is of course a standard with the handguns is the exchangeable back straps. So these are the original Walther back straps, which are just adaptable here right away. And yeah, all of that shows pretty much what you can do if you're really putting some effort in it and not just grab into the shelf and say, okay, let's take this for you. This might do the job. Yeah, it might do the job, but this performs in the job, and that's quite a difference.
So guys, there you have it. Marc, may I say I expected nothing less from your company, of course. So if you guys are into the field of force and thrust training, whether it's from a traditional system or whether you have special requirements that you need to meet, whether it's be special material from the slide, your original sights, a magazine capacity, restrictions to fit the actually round count of the live firearm, UMAREX is a company that can actually provide this with custom jobs, but also with this big expertise that you guys gathered in the field for so many years. Marc, thank you.
I just would like to add one thing, if you don't mind.
All right.
I just talked about the 6mm based system with all these modifications we made for the Netherlands police. But of course, the T4E system, which has great advantages in force and force training and all that, is also capable of getting some changes and modifications in the same way we did it like here. So if you have special requirements for a T4E system like this, just ask us, because we are really looking forward to coming closer contact with you if you're from a law enforcement agency or whatever, and give you some consulting about the different possibilities we have with these different training systems, especially with the T4E, because with the experience we made over the years with this T4E system, in our opinion, it's the most versatile training system we can offer to fulfill the requirements of the law enforcement agencies.
Marc, for those viewers who are now interested, who want to get in touch with your company, where can they find you?
Of course, right here at the Enforce Tac, we are here in Hall 12. We will be at the EVA show, of course, in Hall 7A. And of course, you will find us on UMAREX.com or on UMAREX.de or on all the social media channels, of course.
Marc, thank you very much for your time. If you guys like this video, please feel free to leave a like. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment and also subscribe to this channel. Marc, thank you.
Thank you, Moritz.